Hi everybody, how's it going? This is Ryan.
Ryan motherfucking Riddle.
And if you follow me on YouTube or Instagram, you'll know that I really like to watch movies and talk about them. So I decided to list all the films that I watched in the month of June, and I'm gonna discuss them for a bit. I'll probably be delving into spoilers in some of these, but know that the poster for whatever movie I'm talking about will be highlighted and the trailer will be playing in case you want to avoid that. Anyway, this is what I watched in the month of June. First, I watched The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, directed by Michael Chavez, who also directed... Oh no! And I did not like it. I thought it was really disappointing overall, and I felt like it was a big step down from the first two films, which I still like a lot. It felt more akin to the inarguably inferior spin-offs like The Nun and Annabelle. James Wan, who directed the first two, did not make this one, and it really shows. That class and care are seriously missing from this. I thought the first half hour wasn't that bad, but after plain white guy murders his girlfriend's boss, it goes downhill real quick. Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson basically just go on this road trip trying to find the origins of this demon that's possessing everyone. The mystery isn't engaging and the payoff is pretty lame, and I can understand them wanting to try something different. Perhaps they weren't wanting to rely on the formula of families experiencing spooky ghosts, warns enter and cleanse the home, etc. But I was really just surprised at how dull it all ended up being. I like Farmiga and Wilson a lot, and they're still the heart and soul of the series, but they have very little to do here. The story really meanders, and I didn't find it scary or creepy. I also think it really would have benefited from focusing on the trial aspect. You know, give us some cool courtroom scenes showing the Warrens trying to convince the jury that Satan exists and he made this poor kid commit these terrible crimes that's pretty much shown completely off screen. But nah, let's just show him walking into the court and throw a text on screen saying he was found guilty. Fuck it! 4 out of 10. Next, I rewatched Bruno, directed by Larry Charles, and I liked it. A little more than I did the first time I saw it, actually. It's gonna be impossible not comparing this to Borat, but I do like that one a lot more. For starters, a lot of the jokes seemed, like more staged and planned out. I think Borat had a lot more to say about American culture, and Bruno just relies on, wow, this guy's super gay. Look at how uncomfortable these people are. Homophobes! I also think there was a sweet sort of naivete that Borat carries, whereas Bruno is kind of unlikable and selfish. With that said, there are plenty of funny moments. Sacha Baron Cohen's commitment to his character and performance is phenomenal. I would probably say it's more shocking than it is funny, but there's a lot to appreciate and like here. It's fun. 6 out of 10. Then I watched The Amusement Park, directed by George Romero. This was a pretty interesting one. Apparently, the Methodist Church gave George Romero some money and asked him to make this quasi-PSA/educational film about senior citizens and all the shit that they have to deal with. And apparently they found it so disturbing that they just shelved it for like 50 years, and it's just now seeing the light of day. I think as a piece of history, the movie's a lot more intriguing than it is entertaining. It's not necessarily filmed very well, and it feels pretty repetitive. At the end of the movie, they have this Zoom interview with a bunch of film historians that gives some insight into the project. I don't know, I saw this thing in theaters, but it's streaming on Shudder. I think if I were to have watched it at home, I would have turned it off fairly early on. Still, if this sounds interesting to you, if you're a film lover or if you're an avid fan of Romero, I could see you getting some enjoyment out of it, but aside from that, I just thought it was kind of alright. 5 out of 10. After that, I watched Lake Mungo, directed by Joel Anderson. Lake Mungo is this Australian horror film following a family grieving the death of their young daughter. It's presented like a documentary, and as the movie goes along, it appears that the ghost of the deceased family member is showing up in photographs and video footage recorded during filming. This movie is good. I think most films that fall into the mockumentary or found footage subgenre of horror feel really fake and exaggerated. But this movie is so realistic and believable in its presentation. It's profoundly unsettling and features dozens of hair-raisingly creepy moments. The horror is very subtle and understated, but I think that's why it makes such a big impression on me. There's some good twists in this mystery, and while the format may make it feel a little uneventful, I think it's incredibly haunting and disturbing. 7 out of 10. Then I rewatched Tenacious D in the Pick of Destiny, directed by Liam Lynch for the 1000th time, and I love this stupid fucking movie. Jack Black just brings this unparalleled amount of energy to all his performances, and he's a joy to watch. I would say the humor is a little on the immature side, but it's so gleeful in its crudeness, and every time I watch this thing, I have a big dumb grin on my face. It's just fucking charming, you know? The music is awesome, all of these songs are absolute bangers, and the adventure that these two take is honestly pretty captivating. It's one of my favorite comedies, and I think it's awesome. 7 out of 10. After that, I watched Censor, directed by Prano Bailey Bond, and I thought it was excellent. Censor follows a film censor in the era of video nasties who watches a strange film that is eerily familiar to the way that her sister went missing when they were both young children. She sets out to find the film's director and hopefully her long-lost sister, and it's a great time. The movie is directed extremely well. The lighting and colors that were used were quite striking and gave the movie this fantastic personality. The performances were great, the mystery I felt was very intriguing. It is a slow burn, but the atmosphere is morose and really melancholy and well constructed, and the final act of this film is bonkers. It's totally out there, and it's creepy and memorable and weird, and the slow pace and grounded approach the rest of the movie utilizes makes it stick out that much more. I really liked it a lot. 7 out of 10. Next, I rewatched The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, directed by David Fincher, and it's great. Fincher just has this way of cramming so much information into all of his films. It's a dense, long, thematically unsettling movie that really packs a punch. Rooney Mara as Elizabeth Salander is excellent. I love Daniel Craig's character in this. Gone is the cocksure, suave, debonair James Bond persona, and we're left with this vulnerable, unprepared, very flawed character. These characters are fascinating, and the focus is really concentrated on these two, and even after the mystery is solved and the movie's over, the film still decides to spend another 20 minutes or so with them wrapping up an arguably insignificant plot point, but it's still totally satisfying. The look, the score, the writing, all of it's fantastic and well done. I've never seen the original Swedish version, but this is a great movie, and it's a damn shame that we'll never see a Fincher made The Girl Who Played with Fire or The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. But at least we got this one. 8 out of 10. Then I watched Burnham Inside, directed by Bo Burnham, and I thought it was good. I should probably start by saying I'd never seen any other special by Bo Burnham. I know his style, and I've seen clips here and there, and 8th Grade is an excellent movie. But this is the first special of his that I've seen proper. I think he's a massively talented individual, and I would say that this is an interesting experiment pulled off pretty well. 2020 was a weird year for all of us, and he's able to capture that anxiety, that existential crisis that can befall any of us when we're cooped up and locked away from society, and he did it all in a really satisfying way. The filmmaking techniques are really unique and impressive. He's able to keep the movie visually engaging, even though it all takes place literally in just one room. I thought that was pretty fucking cool. His songs are catchy, really funny. I think there were a few moments that came off a little corny, but overall I think he did a great job, and his limitations only forced him to get more creative, so good on him. 7 out of 10. After that, I rewatched The Departed, directed by Martin Scorsese, and it's fantastic. The way that Scorsese presents this film with the quick editing, the snappy, swear-heavy dialogue, the graphic violence, the dark humor, it's all so fun. The cast is absolutely excellent with Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Mark Wahlberg, Jack Nicholson, Martin Sheen, Ray Winstone, Anthony Anderson, Vera fucking Farmiga. Mwah. Perfect. I don't have a lot to say about it, I just really enjoy it, and I think it's a pretty awesome fucking movie. 8 out of 10. Then I rewatched Monty Python and the Holy Grail, directed by Terry Gilliam and Terry Jones, and it's one of the funniest movies ever made. I don't know what else to say about it. It's classic and totally iconic and quotable and absolutely hilarious throughout. It's goofy and ridiculous, and I love this movie, and if you haven't seen it, why the fuck not? 10 out of 10. Then I saw In the Heights, directed by John M. Chu, and it's a whole lot of movie, you know. I think everyone was really committed to their performance, and the actors are all extremely talented. It's directed with a lot of flair and energy, and it's hard not to be caught up in all that, but overall I thought it was aggressively cheesy and corny. Even though all the characters have their own personal conflict that they need to overcome, there doesn't seem to be any dramatic weight to any of it. One character wants to move to the Dominican Republic, another character doesn't feel deserving of her expensive education, another character wants to leave the city and live in the cool part of town. It's all just surface level bullshit like that. I thought there was going to be some heavier, more topical issues that were tackled here. I'm not expecting Schindler's List or some social justice assault on the audience, but I thought there would be some sort of emotion here. Instead, everyone is just so fucking happy the whole goddamn time. The musical sequences are very big and bombastic and loud and in your face, and I felt kind of overwhelmed a lot of the movie. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bad movie, it's just not really my kind of thing. I'll give it a soft 6 out of 10. After that, I saw Samurai Cop, directed by Amir Shervan, and fuck, this movie is so funny. It's completely inept and horribly made, and it firmly belongs in that category of so bad it's great. It was the first time I saw it in its entirety, and I had an absolute blast with it. It's a cult classic and a phenomenally mishandled dumpster fire of a movie. I had a total blast with it, and I would love to watch it again very soon, grab some beers and some friends, and check this thing out. 1 out of 10, but in a good way. Then I rewatched The Happening, directed by M. Night Shyamalan, and it's also fantastically awful. Imagine that. At this point, Shyamalan was on a quick decline, and before making something that was somehow even worse than this, he gave the world The Happening, a movie about killer plants. I think in theory, the concept is interesting, but wow, what an incredible misstep this is. Every single filmmaking decision is wrong. The leaps in logic, the horrific acting, the laughable premise, the terrible dialogue, the unintentionally hilarious suicides, it's horrible. It's another train wreck of a film, and it's hard to look away when it's playing. It's hilarious, but it sure ain't because it's trying to be. Mark Wahlberg is completely miscast, and it's painful to watch everyone flounder around trying to make sense of this confusing, terrible mess. It's a masterpiece of ineptitude, and I love it for that. 1 out of 10. After that, I watched Werewolves Within, directed by Josh Rubin, and I didn't really like it. For a whodunit mystery revolving around the identity of a werewolf, I was expecting it to be a lot more fun. Unfortunately, as a horror comedy, I didn't think it was particularly scary, and I didn't feel like any of the jokes landed at all. There were some moments of suspense, but it was all in anticipation of a jump scare, and I don't think that counts. I thought the two leads were good. Sam Richardson and Milana Vaintrump gave off a really charming vibe, and I liked their chemistry together. I liked the look of it and how dark and moody it felt, but sadly I didn't feel compelled with what I was watching. I wish it had tried harder in the humor and the horror department. I think the tone was consistent, but it wasn't effective, and I just wish that it was better. 4 out of 10. Finally, I capped off the month by rewatching Blade Runner 2049, directed by Denis Villeneuve, and it's an excellent movie. The scope and the scale of this movie are especially impressive. I think the story and where it goes is extremely satisfying. I like the performances, I love the music and the sound design, but obviously it's the visuals, the cinematography, and the special effects that are the most brilliant part about this. It's one of the most visually striking, beautiful movies out there. It's epic and long, and it expands upon the themes and the universe of the original film in a really satisfying way. It's just a brilliantly made, very impressive movie, and I'm stoked I got to see this in a movie theater again. It is very slow and ponderous, but it rewards you for your patience, and I think it's a great, fantastic movie. 8 out of 10. And that's what I watched this month. I hope this was as fun for you as it was for me. If any of these films look interesting, give them a watch and let me know what you thought about them. Take care of yourselves, everyone, and I'll see you next time.